Good advice for them all. All right, well, let's close out with just the feedback to the community. We all live in communities. I think, sometimes we forget that, especially the last 2 years when we've been holed up in our homes and on Zoom calls, we forget we're in a community. And we only live and thrive if we act like a community. So we'll go back to you.
Yeah, I think for the communities, I think you've got to try to get engaged in this process, and that means I think a lot relies on those people that are at like the city level and the county level, because I'm thinking of particularly like if you're clear cut unserved, like RDOF and these other programs are going to come and help you, but like these smaller towns, like 10, 15, 20,000 people, they're kind of hard to figure out where they fit, and you need to be talking to the people in your community and then the people at your state to explain like how help the state understand how they can structure their program to benefit your communities, right? So I think most of the states, what is it, 30 something states now have signed up and are working on this. So if you're in one of those states, figuring out how do you work within that program at your state level, and so that however they're going to set up their NOFO works for your community, and then if your state doesn't have a program, figuring out how to get that going, right? So you've got to reach. I think that the cities and the counties can be reaching down to the people to understand what they want, and then reaching up. And it's a lot on their shoulders because they have a full-time job, but I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I think you hear a lot of people saying that, but I don't think this isn't hyperbole in this case. I think it's real, like it's once in a lifetime.
Scott?
Yeah, I would. Can I flip that a little bit?
Sure.
And I would love to give advice to, particularly in Washington, we throw a lot of acronyms and billions of dollars at the problems, right? And it's policy wonks, and we get real deep into it. But at the end of the day, we're talking about people. And I think we've got to humanize the issue. And it's somewhat controversial because when you're talking about unserved and underserved issues, we tend to lump all of poor people or economically distressed or racially impacted communities together. But we're talking about people who care about their community and their institutions and their children, and they want to be able to grow and thrive and have economic opportunities and have their kids to be able to go to school in a pandemic, right? And I think if we humanize that, and not so much of a policy wonky, we're going to do $35 billion in this program, and we're unserved and underserved. That is great, right? Yeah. But to reach people in the community, they need much more interpersonal communication, and I think we have to understand, again, going back to my point, that these are actually real people, and these are real communities, and they're not numbers, and they're not baselines, and they're not these other monikers that we throw out, in Washington, D.C., and in state and local governments as well. So, and service providers.
And in
right?
businesses.
And in
business.
business. Right?
Business.
So I talked about
business.
that ROI model, right? You got to have so many homes passed per mile, right? But these are actual people, right? Farms, communities, rural,
and
urban.
people that didn't choose to not be served.
Yeah. Absolutely, right. They were, in some instances, intentionally not served, right? And we've got to address that, too.
Yeah.
I don't want to reward someone who intentionally bypassed the community just because there's these billion-dollar options, right? Yeah. You should be rewarded for being a good steward, in the community and in a good company. I know that's controversial. I'm not going to call names out, but we know that there, historically there are companies, there are state governments that don't allocate funding.
No, there's the monopolies that are doing it.
There we go.
I feel like mine probably, like Scott's, is a bit of a two-way street thing. I think, everyone here at this conference is passionate about unserved and underserved people and doing it the right way. And I think a lot of those communities often have been discouraged with even communicating, right? So many times being ignored, whatever I'm saying doesn't matter, like who's listening anyway. So I think it'll be a two-way street of establishing that we do want to hear from you and we do care and, we're taking what you say seriously and acting on it. And then, on the community's part that, you may have in the past had some terrible experiences with just, everything you say being ignored, but take a chance that this isn't going to be those past situations because these are people who really do want to help. At least we do.
At least we do.
The four of us do.
Yeah, absolutely.